Like the sound is big as it is. It's like the only UK that's like really now embracing it.
Oh boy, DJ P Montana, you know.
Who else? ATG music.
So that how this music kind of, I guess it came to what it is today. I see it as it started. It had we've had three comings of the sound, more or less. I feel like we're on the third coming. So it started during the funky house period in the uni. It started in the whole uni circuit, and the reason why it started in the uni circuit because a lot of Africans tend to go to university. So a lot of the Africans that were in London tend to go universities outside of London. So biggest universities, have Coventry, Hertfordshire, Kent to an extent as well. Few others, but Kingston. How can I forget Kingston? All of these places. Yeah, Luton. There's been all these places that are kind of just outside of London, but not too far. Kind of everyone kind of went to these places and turned these areas into ends, more or less. Yeah, so we had like Doneo, etc. You had like African Warrior, Devil in a Blue Dress, which had a very kind of African swing to it, and the fact that he sang about African warrior, etc., it kind of gave us empowerment in a way, and it made us proud to be African more than we was as kids, because as kids, as you know, many of Africans wanted to be Caribbean. How this emerged into the clubs was that you had a lot of the DJs started playing Afrobeat sets. And this tend to be, like, as I was saying beforehand, like the Tony Tetulas and the Daddy Lumbas, etc. Those are the records that actually came into the clubs. So we were there in the club dancing to things that we would dance to as like kids, 10, 12 years old, do you know what I mean? And then I guess from that, a lot of the new stuff in Africa started coming across, like the Rough and Smooths, the R2Bs, the Sims, the Eases, and all of these kind of ones came through, and that off the back of that was how the UK come, which was where I was saying Mr. Silver, Kwame the Favourite, etc. Because what they did was they took a beat called Move Back by Five and incorporated into their own, which was the Bon Sen Mummy. But again, as I was saying, they incorporated a UK lifestyle, so they had like a barbershop involved in it, had man them dancing, so it's like connecting with their African roots but through music. Do you get what I mean? Now, moving forward from this, there was a few artists that kind of came from that era. Then it moved over to the UK rap mixed with the Afro, which is where we had Timbo, Mitch, and the STP, and they brought the whole African vibe to the streets. And YFS, they played a big part as well. Like these are like Sonar, these are like the second comings, isn't it? Sonar, YFS.
Down to
Sneakbo, but Sneakbo had the Caribbean hit beforehand, which was and that was in the uni time as well, because I remember locking up a rave with Coventry.
Mover.
Yeah, Mover as well with Timbo. Mm-hmm. Like this was that era of, do you know what I mean? And this is where P Montana more or less started amplifying this sound to the streets.
My name is DJ P Montana. I'm a DJ. I'm on Radar Radio every Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. As well as that, I give the millions of people in UK the source through my mixes, which is on SoundCloud and Mixcloud. So it's basically started from the ground up. So started from house parties, then eventually doing raves, then doing my own raves. And in that process, like meeting other DJs and meeting artists and kind of growing with them. And obviously, predominantly, I was playing Afrobeats, so I was around a lot of the Afrobeat artists, so like the Mr. Silvers, the Quams, the Flavors, and it's just been developing since then till today, where you got the Kojo Funds, the J Husses, the Young Banes, and obviously with all these artists, I've kind of seen them from 0 to 100 now, so it's been like a journey throughout this musical thing.
The final coming, which is when Huss and Kojos and stuff came through, and that stuff worked because it was more greasy but still melodic. Do you know what I mean? And that's where we are now, more or less. It's like more very like laid back, cool. There's still gulliness in it, but man, them still make girl records. But it's still the same principle of I speak like this, but I sing like that. you know.
Yeah, because if you know me, you know what I've been about, you kind of know what kind of flavours I'm into, but there's no name for it, do you know what I mean, in general. There's been names that's been thrown about, like Afro bashment, Afro swing. My thing is that everything stems from Afro beats, innit, and it's just like sub-genres underneath it. And that's basically my project, like bare sub-genres under Afro beats.
So the subgenres that are covered are like Afro bashment, Afro swing, Afro trap, and the traditional Afrobeat sound as well. No one's done this, and I feel like as if through this project, it makes not only P, but it makes Raw Boy, the music tasters, to say, you know what, this is what we're backing, and this is what we see as, these are the hot up and coming guys. So through this project, yeah, you will see Belly Squad, and you will see Lotto Boys, you'll see Pagey Cakey and Big Tobes and UG Qualms and Flavor, but at the same time, you're seeing Wizzy, you're seeing YFS, you're seeing Ade Josh, you're seeing Ray, you're seeing Shauna Sade, you're seeing so many up and coming acts that makes you think that, you know what, these are the ones you need to look out for.
Cause I'm innocent, I saw from a distance. She caught my eye, was instant. You see the smoke, it be incense. Melody, you dey take all my energy, but you go feed and dance for your enemy. You go feed and dance for your enemy. Girl, I know you want it, yeah. Hey, back and why you fronting, yeah. Make us show you something, yeah. And we go rely on each other, yeah. I go have your back, oh. Them no fit to match up. Let you down and match you up, girl. I'll wait for you to catch up.
I'd say that it does. If you listen to it, you'd understand as well, because it's consistently good in terms of quality, and the sounds are different, but it's still under the Afro element, if that makes sense. So you have artists that won't necessarily be on Afro bashment, but they're on the project kind of thing. So it's kind of sick.
I feel like I brought still the rawness of like how my raps usually are, with the melodies and like the jumpiness of the beat. Because it's crazy, I've been writing to Afro vibes for a long time, like Afro swing and stuff with other artists, but I've never done my own song until recently. You guys are gonna hear it soon, and then this one, so yeah, just the raw vibes that I usually bring in my tracks on Afrobeat, I think it's good because you don't hear much African girls giving that, let alone here, and even in like Africa, there's not much of it. So yeah, just the raw vibes and the truth really on that type of beat. It was weird, but I love it because like I don't know, I've listened to music of that tempo with the same like drum patterns and the instruments for a long time, so I really enjoyed it. I think I've had more fun in it than I do usually with rapping, because I feel like when you're doing certain like trap stuff or grime or hip hop, it's very like straightforward. Whereas with this, I could do melodies, I could rap at some points, I could give it more character, and just play about it a bit more. So I had fun.
The one thing I would say, the reason why we're so strong on this project as a whole, I would say, is what P is doing. It's groundbreaking within like the UK Afrobeat scene. I would say as far as the UK scene as a whole. What he's doing is what the likes of DJ Clue, what the likes of, DJ K Slay, Woo Kid, what these people were doing within the late 90s, early 2000s, where they were breaking artists and subgenres within their regions of New York, within hip hop. This is what P's doing with this one. So this is the blueprint of UK Afrobeats.
It's been sick, you know, because it's basically like creating the music from scratch and just putting ideas you have and making it happen in the studio. So it's more or less like you bring in producers. For this project, I've worked with ATG, who else but Jewels, Wild Boy Ace, Sunny Kel. I've had Scribs Riley here, had Enter the A here, and a collective called Anti-Wave. Producer Boys had a hit on here, MB as well. So we got all the producers. So it's more or less like I brought them producers in, and I've basically said, cool, this is the sound I'm going for. Let's work around that.
Initially, P and Funks both hit me up, so that's P Montana and Funks, telling me about what they plan to do and stuff. And I was up for it because that's family. They're both my cousins, blood. So yeah, man. Before that, you know, I was helping P out a lot, you know, producing a couple songs for him. I remember he was just asking me to send him beats and stuff, and I'll send a couple beats through and stuff, and he'd message me back and be like, oh, I sent it to so-and-so artist. And I'd be like, yeah, that's cool, that's cool. But this was all done just through like emails, WhatsApp and stuff. So there weren't any sessions being done yet until, you know, we got here in Red Bull Studios for like a month. And that's when it really got cracking.
The scene right now, yeah, let me not lie, a couple of years it could be mad. It could proper be mad, because one thing I've realized is from when we started to now, like even if you just look at the standard of studios, where like before we were in the bedrooms, we were grafting, like making tunes, but now we're actually in top level, industry level studios making songs that the world are starting to take in. Because one thing I feel like is with this whole scene, everyone's helping each other to kind of bring it to the world, like, and make it bigger than just the community, if you want to call it that. Like, I feel like it's a lot bigger than we might see right now. But yeah.
I think like, if the whole thing is a body, like, I'm the spine. Like, very pivotal, very important. You know, the vibe begins with the producer, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you know, we start the beats, we engineer the sessions, we get everything to sound right. You know, we put in the graveyard shift even after the artists have left, you know what I'm trying to say? So I think our role is very important. I don't want to say we're the most important, but it's very important, very vital, very, very vital.
So obviously producers play a major role, and speaking on that, throughout the project, there hasn't been a beat that's been sent over and made for the artist to spit on. Like, everything's been made from scratch. So that's absolutely zero. So they've had to have the hi-hats, the kicks, the strings, the pianos, the trumpets. We even had live guitarists here. Like, you know what I mean? So producers, they do a lot, and they've done a lot because they basically make the sound. The artists don't go and say, I want this sound. It's producers that tell them, all right, cool, this is it. And then they make it happen. The whole game has changed because stuff like YouTube, SoundCloud, Mixcloud is giving opportunities for artists, DJs to expand their fan base. So it's not necessarily people in your area or people down the road, or, you know what I'm trying to say? It's expand, like, there's fans that you know that you will never see ever, but then they'll hit you up and be like, yeah, I'm a fan, I like this and blah, blah, blah. And because of YouTube per se, like someone in Sweden, maybe screaming Young Bane is walking down the road, and you know what I'm saying? So little stuff like that. It just helped the music, and then obviously you still got the streaming platforms, which is giving artists opportunity to make more money from the music they put out. And that comes from obviously promoting their tunes on YouTube and whatnot. So the new age is good for the artists, I'd say.
It's just good vibes. Like, if I could describe it in any way, it's just good vibes. It's just a good time. Like, you can dance to it. Like, it's just a good time, like, full stop. It's just fun music, man.
If it's not already international, worldwide, like, people are picking up on it slowly, but I feel like it can really not only dominate like here in Africa, like really US, Asia, and like on a bigger scale, like charts, #1s. Like, we've seen a lot of people do it before, like D'banj and Wizkid and Davido. All these people, they've done major stuff, Tiwa Savage, but I feel like we could just push it that bit more, like, because there's genres like reggae and dancehall that's lived a long time and has done very well internationally on all levels, underground charts, whatever. But I feel like Afrobeats is still kind of having this time, but I think it's going to be major. It's going to be global.
Where I see it getting much bigger. You know, we got a couple artists at the forefront. You know, Kojo, Funds, J Huss, Notes. A couple artists are at the forefront, and they're doing big stuff. And you know, people are charting now. The whole thing's been, you know, it's morphing into something bigger than what it was when it started. You know, I don't think anybody saw it getting this big, but you know, a lot of it has, you know, I think the reason why it's getting so big is mainly because a lot of the bigger artists worldwide like the sound. And, you know, whatever they say goes. It's just good vibes. I don't think you could listen to it and not catch a good vibe from it at all. So, yeah, it's fun to make, it's fun to listen to. It's just fun music.
Like she wanna have my baby, nah, nah, nah. Yeah, I tell her nah, nah, nah. Yeah, but she's too deep low. I hit you. She's whining and slow to calypso. I hit you. She deep low. She whining and slow to calypso. I saw she touching and she feeling on my body. I know you say that I'm acting shit just because I don't call you babe. A lot of things changed since then. I've Turned way up since then. The price has gone up since then. Turned way up since then. She told me drop my. You gon' run around, she'll say you gon' run around. I'ma realize nobody better than. Now you see the money you want holler now. Oh my, if I give you chance, you gon' run around. You gon' run around, she'll say you gon' run around.
As long as I'm in a position where I can help people and like get people heard, I'll be happy with that. I don't really currently forecast myself anywhere in any position. Just in a position where I'm in now, but more amplified, like just getting the people's songs out there, making sure people are heard, people hearing the nice good songs and that. And yeah, that's basically it.